and just say, welcome to the SUCCESSFIT team call. And I think what I am trying to do is have the first Wednesday of the month be kind of like a bit of a new coach Q&A. It doesn't have to be brand new coaches, but I think that often that's when we have the most questions, right? So, and although I hope I'm really open to you guys, and I hope you feel comfortable posting in SUCCESSFIT as well, asking questions. Sometimes it's nice just to have a bigger forum and have people feel comfortable to ask live questions as we go. So I'm going to keep sort of my talking part of this team call short tonight. I feel like after the Success Club trip, there was some really great discussion. We had at the elite dinner, and then certainly there were a couple of panels while we're there. And I feel like I took away a couple of big things, and this is the message I wanted to chat with you guys tonight. And that was this whole concept of going all in. So once I've had a chance to talk, we will do Q&A at the end, but feel free to unmute and chat. So I feel like when I don't know if you guys have heard this term before or heard coaches say that before. I certainly remember, and I hear it even now on the national wake-up calls, you'll hear it a lot, or if you hear other, coaches who've been around for a little while and other successful coaches talk, I'll often hear this idea of, well, my business wasn't really going anywhere until I went all in. I think that's the point of what they're trying to say, is that one day there was this decision made and they went all in, whatever that means. And then their business finally got going. And I guess I just wanted to chat a little bit about that, because for me, I need to just close my, I can't close my, sorry, I'm hearing dings here and that's my fault. Sorry about that. I think I used to imagine this concept of going all in, as like meaning I needed to just work all day at this, like it needed to kind of consume me, be everything that my focus was on, and maybe even like be available to answer my messages every single time they came in. Someone writes you and you want to write them back right away, and have my phone attached to my hip. Or I had this idea that this meant I always had to be on social media, like constantly there. And really just kind of be not a walking billboard, but a talking billboard even. Like I think when this idea of being a product of the product in this is really, for me, that's about being your walking billboard. If you're really focused on taking care of yourself, on your health, that should shine out of you very naturally. But I think I had it in my mind that this meant I needed to be on social media all the time. I needed to be posting like 5, 6, 7 times a day. I needed to be sharing every little aspect of my life, and making this my life. And that didn't sit very well with me because, well, I think I still really wanted this to be successful for myself, but the jump of going from where I was to all these things that I thought going all in meant was really a very big one. And it wasn't one that I think, even though I attempted to go down for a little while, it wasn't one that served me, and it certainly wasn't one that was going to be able to be managed long term. For me, I had sort of 2 moments in this journey so far that I think of immediately where things got really real. And that's kind of what I wanted to share with you, where I feel like this idea of going all in and what I had made it up to be clarified a little bit for me. And so I want to share those stories with you, and then kind of give you my 3 tips of what I actually think going all in means, and give you some action steps that you can utilize. So I think that when we moved back, so 4 years ago, I guess it was, pretty much 4 years ago right now, we moved back from Minnesota. Our family were living in Minnesota. We moved back, and I had sort of dabbled in being a coach at that point in time. I'd run a couple challenge groups. I'd had a couple months where I'd hit Success Club. I had a couple months where I hadn't, and we found out we were going to make this move back here. And it was a huge move, right? Like I wasn't at the point in my business where I felt like I could handle growing this and also this move with my family. So I really took that step back, and I took that time to just really focus on me and staying healthy, and being that product of the product, and managing this move for my family and my children. But when we got here to Ajax, which is where I am in this moment, I think I remembered looking around and realizing I had been a stay-at-home mom for the last few years. That's not what I'd always imagined for myself, as wonderful as it was. I'd always pictured having goals and dreams. And I think my reality when I looked around was that life was a lot more expensive here. And my options, once my son started school, really were to go back to a job. And this was when this sort of first moment, like kind of this clarity moment of deciding to go in a little bit deeper into this happened, when I recognized what I didn't want was to be going back to something I wasn't passionate about and get into the rat race of life here. I guess I could just, what I mean is I could picture this life that I really didn't want. And that was one of my options. And that was a moment, I think, where I looked at this opportunity ahead of me. And I had also seen my coach, Emma, go from being a newer coach to, at that time, be like growing from being sort of a newer diamond coach, making about $1,000 a month doing this, to go in a matter of 2 years being a six-figure earner, multiple star diamond coach. So I had watched her journey. And I remember thinking to myself, if she can do this, why can't I do this? Only like, if this is really what I wanted. And that was sort of a moment there where I thought, I need to really do this. I need to commit my head a little bit towards this if this is what I want. And then the second moment, I think, that really helped me dive into another level of this was when I was a newer diamond, about 6 months to a year later. And I was on these calls with corporate and some other diamonds. And I realized that I got so caught up in what other coaches were doing and watching what they were doing that I lost my own voice in there. Everything that I had started to create of what I wanted this to be for me, I got stuck in this is another rat race, in a way, this rat race of trying to do what everyone else was doing all the time and repeating what everyone else was doing. And I think that was the second moment for me where I had to take a step back and put on some blinders and remind myself what I was creating. Because we all have these tools, right, that we get as coaches. And I don't think that there's just one way to use them. And I think what's so beautiful about this opportunity is that we are all different and we can reach people in a different way. Like, we're only looking for the people who are looking for me. And that was a very powerful thing that I learned. And I wanted to share those two moments for you because I think they helped me understand that it wasn't, that I didn't, in order to go all in, I didn't need to work all day at this. I didn't need to have my phone attached to my hip and to be staring at it while my family needed me. Or I didn't need to be a talking billboard and sharing every aspect of my life constantly on social media and making this my life. It didn't need to be those things. What I started to realize is that I had control over how I wanted this to work in my life. And that, I think, was when that kind of those last few moments of me clicking into going all in really clarified. So what I wanted to share with you are sort of, originally were 3, but I actually have four tips, sort of 4 points with some tips of what I think that means and how to do it. I think that the very first thing, I don't know, I mean, most of you guys probably see on Beachbody, they've got this great tagline: decide, commit, succeed. And I think that it is so true and so powerful when we think about our journey in a challenge, and then now we're helping people come on into challenge groups. It's very, the first hurdle is helping people decide to do this. And then once they've made that investment and made that decision, the second piece is really committing from start to finish. I know, and you know, that if someone comes in and follows this amazing system that's here and then puts their own self into this, like really commits to it from start to end, they're going to get results. It's impossible not to. But we lose a lot of people along the way, right? In the hard parts of all of this. So I think the first step in really recognizing that this is something you're going to go all in on is deciding. And by that, I think my call to action for you, or the tip for you, is really to get clear on what you want this to be. And I got really caught up in that in my early days. You hear people talk about their why or their deeper meaning, their why that makes them cry. And I don't think I was really clear on that. And I don't mean it has to be set in stone right now. But at this stage in your life, when you think about this opportunity, what do you want it to be for you? Do you want to build an organization where you are helping hundreds of people, where you work with a team, where you have other coaches that are on this journey with you? Or do you want to focus on just helping a few people a month achieve their goals? Do you just want to stay accountable? What does that mean for you? And that's an important picture to recognize. And it's not to say that can't change and evolve over time, but as you get into this, either as a new coach or an intermediate coach or one that's been around for a little while, I think this is a really important piece, because you need to decide what you want so that you can then commit to it. So get clear on what it is that you want. Have that real conversation with yourself, and then get clear on your mission. And I like to say, have a theme song. Every year, I really like to have some time at the beginning of the year, and it's probably cliche to have New Year's resolutions and stuff, but for me, I like to almost have like something that I'm really focused on for that year. One year I had Fuel Your Fire, and it was all about just making sure that everything I'm doing that year is fueling this fire within me. Beachbody has a great one that they like to use they switch it up every year for Summit, and that there's been no one left behind or whatever that is, but have something that reminds you what you're here for, kind of reminds you of what you want and reminds you of your mission. And I still feel like I'm clarifying my mission. I don't know that I have that solid mission statement, but I do know that I have songs that I like to go to that remind me of at least the direction I'm going, if I can't get it exactly perfect yet, because I do think this is an evolution of ourselves. For me, this is about learning more about me, and the more I can pull out of myself and grow, the more I can help people further. So that's my first sort of tip and call to action is, as I said, take the time to ask yourself those hard questions. Get clear on what you want this to be, and get clear on your mission. Decide what you want for yourself. The next step that I think is a really important part and really has helped me going all in, as I say on this, because I don't think there's a certain amount of time you need to give this to be going all in. It's just a step in recognizing your commitment, is to commit to failing forward. I can promise you that loads of times I have run challenge groups with almost no one in them. I have put calls to action out with no response. I had a free group last week that just bombed. Like nobody was in it. I mean, people were in it, but nobody was doing anything, and they just weren't committed and they weren't there. And like, I can't tell you how many times I've done things and one month and they've worked, and the next it's like crickets, and I don't know why. But I think that the key is to recognize you will struggle. Everybody struggles in this. You will have things that feel like failures and are failures. You'll say something on social media and be like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or you'll put something out there and think that was a bad idea. But I am only as good as I am. So recognizing that I'm going to fall, and really success is just on the other side of that failure. If you never get up and try again, you're never going to get success in whatever you do, right? Imagine one of our challengers who comes into a challenge and the first day is so hard, they can't do a squat. And so they're like, well, I just can't do this. I'm not going to do it again. Or I get this from my husband. He gets so sore after a few days that he just stops. And I'm like, he's not here to defend himself. I feel badly for him. But and it's like the best way through it is the best way to get through the pain is literally through the pain. And I think our challenge groups and our own transformations teach us the same thing we need to remember with our business, is that the only way to not wake up and be so sore anymore is to keep going. Otherwise, you're always going to be starting over and so sore and never better at push-ups or never better at anything else, because you keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping and giving up. And whether it's starting and stopping and giving up as a coach, or whether it's starting and stopping and giving up in a whole bunch of different things, you see other people hop multi-level marketing companies, or they're like, I'm going to do this month, and then they're going to do that month, whatever that might be. Starting and stopping is never going to get you success. You must commit to failing. It's going to happen. Embrace it. get a sense of humor over it, have a support structure, which is what we are, and keep going. Because there's that great image I always think about where it's like a miner and they're mining in the tunnel and they're mining in the tunnel. And the one image is of the guy turning around, and just on the other side, you can see like a thin layer is where all these jewels are. And that is really what I think happens here. You need to fail forward to grow in yourself, grow in your muscle, grow in your mind, grow in your body, and grow in your business. So commit to that. Recognize that as a normal part of this. There are going to be times where you feel like you suck, and there are going to be times where you do things not right. But that's okay. We just need to keep moving forward, and it's about pushing through that and having that tenacity and that adversity to get there. For me, that is going all in. It's deciding I'm going to do this even if I suck some days. Okay, the third thing is, I think, committing to running this like a business. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule where like you have to sit down every day and do this hour. I know I like to talk about it as a power hour, and you hear people say that. It can be done in 15-minute increments, but there are basic activities in your business that have to be done to move it forward. And so whether you call those your store hours or your business hours, your business can't take business if it's not open. So I like to think about this because this whole journey of being a coach, and from what in any type of entrepreneurial role, and this is what I know, this is something I do know from my own experience, is it really is like a marathon. It's, or actually a better analogy, I think, is it's almost like a 4 or 5 year undergrad. That's the way I want you to look at this when you come into being a coach, is that you're coming in, you're going to take courses, you're going to fail some courses, probably some you're really going to like, some you're not. You're going to want to skip these classes. Like, it's literally like this 4 or 5 year undergrad. And at the end of that undergrad, you might get a really good job. You might be able to go in and do your master's and then a PhD and teach everyone else how to build this incredible, thing and be very, very successful at it. Like, there's actually a lot of options at the end of your 4-year degree. Ideally, you've built a nice solid structure and a business, but I think we need to go into this and at least recognize that it's going to take 4 years of consistency, 4 to 5 years of consistency to have that degree that you want. That's going to put you at, I am an entrepreneur. I've created a significant business. I have the experience I need to continue to make a difference and advance beyond this initial level. And I like that analogy because it just reminds me that this is like, okay, in university, I didn't pass all my courses, but overall, I did enough to pass the year. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not going to thrive necessarily in every area. Posting is not my strength, but there are other areas of this business that I really love. Nutrition is not my strength, but there are other areas that I really thrive in. And at the end of the day, I do enough in those other areas to pass the course, so that at the end of this year, I can say, okay, I passed this year. I had a successful year. But if I never go to class and I never do any of my work and I never show up for the exam, I'm not going to pass that, and I can't move on and to advance into the second year of my degree. So I don't know if you like that analogy, but for me, that really makes a lot of sense, and it needs to be created. You need to have these business hours, and they can't take over your life because this is a marathon. You need to be able to manage this. It needs to be something that you can continue and thrive in long term. So it's very hard for people, I think, to go all in and make this a 12-hour-a-day thing or a 60-hour work week thing and feel good about it at the end, and not exhausted or burnt out. But recognize when you're coming into this, going all in means seeing yourself graduate in 4 years from now, and recognizing that maybe at the end of that graduation, there's other things you're going to do with this opportunity. And that's going to be up to you at that time. But if you go in thinking like, oh, this is just a quick 12-month crash course, you're going to fail. Not fail. I hate to say that, but you're going to struggle. Like, it's going to be really hard to be successful that way. I don't see a lot of people where that happens to. Okay. And then the last step that I just think is really, really important, and this is something I took away. I heard actually on the Success Club trip, Carl's wife, Isabel Deichler, spent a good half hour really like schooling us in Shakeology. And it was a cool thing. I imagine it's recorded, so I'll see if I can find it on YouTube. But she's one of the co-creators, and she's extremely passionate about Shakeology. But she said something in there where she said, when it comes to like investing in your health, and I loved it because it's something that I like to look at, but it's kind of the final step, I think, in going all in your business. And that's having faith. Faith is not hope. Faith is knowing that you're going to be successful. Or for her, it was knowing that this nutrition is going to make her healthier. That's sort of how she looks at nutrition. It's having faith in what she's created here. But for me, when I apply that to our business, I think one of the biggest things in going all in is having faith that you will be successful at this, that you will finish your degree, that you will get up after you fall down, that you will make this vision clearer and clearer every time you sit down to do a power hour or your 15-minute slots or whatever those things are that you're doing. It's knowing without a doubt that you're going to do that, as opposed to just hoping. And I think that can be a really hard thing for people. But I'll tell you, I remember one of the first times, like I think when my husband kind of gave me a sideways glance as to like, are you serious about this? Or I don't believe this can be a 6-figure thing and beyond. That really just drove home my faith. Like for me, that fueled me where I was like, just watch me. And I still let it, like whenever I start to feel that, even those doubts of myself, I remind myself of this faith. I will be taking this to skyscraper levels because I have this clear vision of the impact it's going to have on the women in my life and my daughters and my friends who are having daughters, and sons too, but this is what I relate to are women. So that is where I think I want to leave us tonight, is just remembering that piece. If you want to go all in, it doesn't need to consume you. This just needs to be a part of your life. But you have to have business hours. You have to look at this as something that it needs consistent nurturing from you. You have to be willing to fall and get back up again. And you have to have faith that you can do this, because it really is such a self-driven journey, I think. Okay. That's where I'm going to leave you guys tonight. Does anybody have questions on that? Or does anyone have questions on the business or anything you're struggling with that I can help along those lines? Maybe you'll just need to unmute yourself, or I can unmute you if you need help. Did that make sense? Oh, Liz, you're struggling with tracking. Is it the tracking sheet that is in our group, or just you don't know where to start?
Yeah, I guess it's the, I can't find the particular tracking sheet you're using. I saw a few of them, but they seem too encumbersome. Like anything, I just don't like anything that's going to box me in. Right?
Yeah, of course.
But I know it works, and I know I have to do it. But I can't find that sheet. So it's even today. I mean, I made all those contacts and I did follow-ups, but I didn't record it.
You didn't record it. Yeah. And that's, I think, like this sheet has worked for me, but in the beginning, you should know I just used pen and paper. Okay. And then I moved sort of into an Excel document and just created it the way it worked for me. So I can send you the sheet again. And I like Teamsy as another, like an online product that I find helpful. So I'll send you those two things after the call. But if it's easiest for you just to have a binder with paper, with a section that's like contacts, and then a section that's like who I added to my network, or who I invited. That's what I did in the beginning, and it worked great for me. Okay. And that's okay.
Anyways, it's been fabulous last week and this week, so you're amazing.
Oh, good. Well, welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the team. It's so exciting. Awesome. Any other great? Someone still pen and paper. That's great. Sabrina, Liz, I have 5 different trackings. Yeah. I think you just have to find what works for you. But that's failing forward. That's a great point, Sabrina. It's finding what works for you, and none of them might work for you, and maybe you just want to create your own. I know Marini did that. I don't think she's on the call tonight, but she did that where she just kind of created her own thing, and I think that's awesome. Any other questions, you guys, about what we talked about tonight, about getting started, about things you need to learn that I can add to the training? I think then I'll leave you sort of with this as well, is that
I was just going to say one thing, Bria.
Yeah, please do.
One thing that made a huge difference for me, and as you know, I've hit Success Club and then I fell off the wagon and all heck broke loose. But one thing that really clicked for me was that a connect, I always thought it meant like a deep message and a long conversation. And And it always caught me up in the tracker sheets that a connect was a full conversation and an invite and an ad, and it was everything all in one. And it's literally just a comment or something that makes that algorithm work for you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it just made the tracker sheet make so much more sense to me.
Yeah. There's a difference between like conversations and invitations, like actually, and just a reach out connection, which is the point of just the way we would. I just think the thing that has helped me a lot with understanding social media is recognizing that what's so powerful about it is that it's just taken our world, our personal world, where once upon a time we would need to like have parties or go out and see people or like meet real people face to face. And I still think that's very powerful, but it really, this just is like our virtual social land. Instead of having to actually leave my house, I can just go into a group or I can go into my news feed and be like, hey, how's it going? You know, like I am at the playground with this kid's mom. You know, I think that that's an important way to look at it. A connection is just you connecting with someone else and saying, hey, what are you up to these days? And on that note, I'll just say in the beginning, when I was struggling with invites every day, I still prefer to sit down and do a lot of invites for my challenge as opposed to doing invites every single day. But I will make sure to invite someone to something every day, whether it's just like a free group or to try a sample or something along those lines, or whether it's to just go for a walk or have coffee or catch up on the phone, you know, whatever those things are. The point is that it's relationship building. So if you don't feel like you're at a place where you can invite someone to do something with you or to join a challenge group, you can just invite them to hang out because you're that walking billboard, not the talking billboard, right? So getting in front of people and letting them see your light and how happy you are without ever talking about Beachbody stuff is actually a really powerful piece of what we do. So getting out into that land and not being afraid to being around people too. But that's where social media works, I think, is just remembering it's just our community, but virtual. Awesome. I think I think I was going to say something else, but it's kind of gone out of my mind. I think it's the beginning of a month right now. I just like to, you know, this is such a great time of the year because people have kind of come out of their winter funk for most of us on here who all live in the winterland. And it's this beautiful period of time before summer hits and we're focused on barbecues and drinking and our children, where we still want to accomplish something. So don't lose sight of these few months. This is an opportunity, I think, to really passionately dive into your own journey and really just share that with other people and invite them to come along with you right now. And with the promotion, I think it's a great time with the All Access Pass promotion to really dig deep and push yourself a little bit in these next 2 months out of your comfort zone. So I think that's it for the night. Next week, I will move into, I think, maybe some more like recruiting focused stuff to talk about just pushing ourselves to that next level and inviting people to join us. I haven't formulated my call there yet, but thank you for being on the call tonight. I hope this stuff is helpful. And I really encourage you to do these 4 steps and go all in according to the way I think you need to go all in. And enjoy this journey and make it what you want it to be, because it can be very life-changing and give you a lot of purpose. Okay, have an awesome night, guys. Look at this. I stayed on time tonight. 9:01. Thank you so much for being on and have a great, great evening. Bye, guys. Thanks for showing up.